You need Lynx, or at the very least, you should consider her. If you're an individual who skipped Luocha, doesn't have a Bailu, and only has Natasha, her value shoots up tremendously. And in this video, we're going to go over how you should build her, her general options in case you want to build her, and what team comp she may fit in pretty well. Keep in mind, I don't advise pulling specifically for a 4-star, so if you don't want Fu Xuan, maybe hold off, especially if you have guarantee or are pretty close to pity. But if you are interested in Fu Xuan and wouldn't mind picking her up, she's still a great preservation unit, you can go for Lynx as a whole. She's going to be a great character and a nice boon to your account. Relics are the most difficult thing to farm for in this game, so let's talk. Lynx is a character who applies a big ult that heals your entire party, so that means that Hackerspace is going to be a viable set for her. It may not be her best set depending on what you want to do with her, but it is still one of her better sets. Think of it as the same thing you can run on characters like Tingyun. However, you do have a couple options if you want to switch it up a little bit. You can go for Longevous Disciple, the HP from the 2-piece bonus set. You can go for Longevous Disciple, the 2-piece set gives a bonus of 12% HP. This isn't a lot, but it does help her out a fair bit, especially if you want to go for a healing build. You can actually go for something like a 2-piece HP build with 2-piece of the Passerby of Wandering Cloud. This is especially good in the event that you farm this up for Musketeers. You can go for a 2-piece or even a 4-piece Musketeer set. The speed bonus and the basic attack damage increase is nice, but a little bit of damage won't necessarily mean much if your team dies anyway. If you want to build her out for a bit more of a defensive option, you can go for something like 2-piece Guard set for the reduced damage taken and 2-piece Hackerspace, or 2-piece Hackerspace and 2-piece of the max HP set for Longevous Disciple. There are a couple sets you can mix and match. I would recommend for primary stats you keep the usual outgoing healing bonus. You can go for speed boots or HP boots. It doesn't necessarily matter. I'd say speed for the vast majority of you, but I understand it's difficult to farm for and guarantee. So if you need to go HP, that's perfectly fine. Just understand she will be an individual who won't go often, so you do have to rely on your team having a little bit of inbuilt tankiness or on her getting her ult up a lot. If that is the case, the speed set will help her out tremendously with the 6% and then a 12% for her allies when she ult. You can go for HP bonus here on the planar sphere, and then energy regeneration rate is what I would always recommend for every healer or every support in general, really. However, if you do want to build her out to be a bit more of a DPS with quantum characters, you can legitimately just go for the Brilliant Stars set. The quantum set is always good. Don't get me wrong, she won't be dealing a lot of damage. She's a healer, but if you want to make all your team deal a little bit more damage and you think she can get by with this set, that's perfectly fine to go for, especially if you have a lot of it because you've been farming up for a Silver Wolf, a Zealy, and a Fu Xuan. So there are a lot of options you have for her, but I primarily will only recommend one. Broken Kill set. Infect resistance is among one of the most important stats to have for any character, especially your healer. Your effect resistance determines your ability to resist imprisonment, freeze, or outrage, and anyone who's played against the deer knows how bad outrage can be. You don't want to have any form of debuff or any form of effect on a character unless it's a buff to them, and so effect resistance is great. Broken Kill set increasing your character's crit damage is great. Fleet of the Ageless is good for that HP bonus, and the all attack increase for your entire party is nice, but the vast majority of you will more than likely have been switching to the Rudolent Arena set because it's wonderful for the vast majority of units like Yan Heng, your Yanqing, your Sealy, and as a direct result, Broken Kill set is one you're more likely to have farmed up. Aside from that, I legitimately don't recommend anything else. Even though Vonwag increases energy regen rate, it's not exactly a benefit large enough to make worthwhile farming for. Instead, either switch for Ageless or Kill set. Kill set being my ideal recommendation just because it's so viable on so many other units. Light cones, they're a different story. I'd say post-op conversation is going to be the best one for pretty much all of you. The energy regeneration rate is nice no matter what. I use it on my Bailu, I use it on my Natasha. I have a second one leveled up here for Lynx that I will max out soon. The increased outgoing healing with her ultimate is an additional bonus. I think the primary reason you would go for this is just for that energy regen rate. Quid Pro Quo trades some of the healing bonus granted by all the other light cones for energy regeneration rate for your other characters. That energy regen could mean they ult quicker, could mean they heal your party up, it could mean they have more defensive options, especially for characters like Chapard. Shared feelings. This looks good on the surface, but if you aren't using your skill, you aren't getting the bonus from this light cone. I'd argue it's decent, but it's not worth it because the vast majority of you shouldn't be using your skill with a character every turn or even every other turn. Perfect timing is a pretty good one. If a character comes with natural effect resistance in their traces, especially the minor ones, it's actually a really great one. Effect resistance is your chance to resist debuffs. Lynx, however, cleanses all debuffs, or at least one debuff for every character in the party, when she uses her ult, which means that the effect resistance may not be all that needed with her. It's still nice to have, but it may be better suited for other characters like Luocha, like Bailu, like Natasha, any character who doesn't actually have that inherent effect resistance. Multiplication. Basic attack increase for advanced forward is nice, especially if you need more skill points. This works especially great if you're running characters like either Sealy, who use a lot of skill points herself, or Imbibed Lunai, who wants to use all of your skill points. Time waits for no one. It's a great light cone. The outgoing healing is nice, the max HP increases the tankiness and her healing amount. It's a wonderful light cone. The additional damage is something I don't think anyone here is going to complain about. I legitimately think this is a wonderful light cone with probably the highest amount of HP possible healing, but I think the general issue we'll face is that compared to something like post-op conversation, the energy regen rate isn't going to be as good, and so if you're worried about having the consistency of a character's ult up almost all the time, especially when you're facing off against enemies that can apply a party-wide debuff, it's probably a better idea to go for post-op or something like it than specifically for maximum HP. Echoes of the Coffin. It's not recommended at all. Lynx is an HP scaling unit. The attack is only beneficial to Luocha. Even though the energy regen is nice, it's not really as good as just having the guaranteed healing bonus of post-op conversation and the energy regeneration rate overall. Warmth shortens cold nights. It's a decent light cone. I don't legitimately recommend any of you go for this if you're going for something out of the battle pass. The HP bonus is nice, and the additional healing when you perform a basic attack is good, but I would rather just have higher healing bonus in general, which all of the other light cones, save for Luocha's, provide. And for traces, your general path where pretty much all healers will follow. The ult is nice, the trace and talents are nice for the skill, and the basic attack doesn't need to be leveled up. It really is just a situation where this character won't be doing a lot of damage, so unless you're building them out for a DPS or have multiple Eidolons on them, you don't need to invest too heavily in them. The same rules apply for characters like Bailu, Luocha, and even Natasha. Once again, because I don't have her yet, because she's not out yet, we will be using Bailu in place of her, but she performs really well, obviously, in a mono-quantum oriented team. That means that you can just slide her in anywhere. Let's actually throw a QQ in to simulate Fu Xuan being in there. If you want to do a mono-quantum team, this guarantees that Silver Wolf will add the quantum weakness. It's going to be really nice. It's going to be really fun, but she may be better suited in other teams, especially if this team already has a high enough damage output. In teams like Mono Ice, if you're not freezing consistently, Lynx will work great too. Realistically speaking, she's a healer. She can go into legitimately any team and perform wonderfully. Just understand that other characters like Luocha in a mono imaginary team may be better. Even though she's a healer and can work in legitimately any team comp, certain characters want to be paired with her more than others. Characters like Shepard want to be hit quite a lot, and considering she can increase his aggro score, this works extremely well for him, considering every hit increases his energy, which allows him to ult more consistently. For destruction units, Blade and Clara both want to be hit more often. Blade so his follow-up attack can proc, and then Clara because she relies on getting hit to deal damage. In most situations, your preservation and destruction units will be pretty tanky, especially in comparison to something like a Hunt character, or Nihility, or Harmony. Nobody wants their Ting Yun or their Yukong to be hit again. But overall, if you don't have Bailu, if you don't have Luocha, pull for Lynx. She's legitimately your only other option. If you lose 50-50 and get a Bailu, hey, maybe her value's diminished a bit, but she's still a great character. If you get preservation unit Fu Xuan, hey, that's additional bonus, especially if you wanted her. Just understand that it's very difficult to guarantee and impossible really to guarantee a 4-star, and you may end up pulling or wasting a lot of pulls for potentially other characters you don't want. Even though the Fu Xuan banner is pretty good, understand that you do have the ability to wait it out a little bit, especially if you aren't drastically in need, and there are other ways to mitigate that because you do have someone like March 7th who cleanses. Just understand it's not an AoE cleanse like Lynx. I personally think she's going to be a great character. I think if you don't have other healers, you should go for her, and even I will be going for her because I think she's cute. She's a very cute design, and I like Quantum. But that's going to be it for me. If you enjoyed, found this helpful, useful, informative in any way, shape, or form, hey, consider subscribing and leave a like down below. Really, that's it. I'll see you guys next time.